Hello everyone, hopefully everybody's doing well and staying safe, following our orders to stay at home and only go out when we have to, when it's absolutely necessary. Today is Wednesday, May 6th. It's day 18 of our remote learning, and our topic today is positive and negative numbers, which we also know as integers. Our learning targets for today: I can explain how to use the positions of numbers and on a number line to compare them. I can use inequalities to compare positive and negative numbers. On your do now today, it said you had a blank above each of these thermometers, and it said fill in the blank with the correct temperature indicated by the thermometer. Hint: if your answer is not a whole number, put it in decimal form. Now these do not specify whether it's degrees Fahrenheit or degrees Celsius, so all you should have put in those blanks is just the number. So looking at the first one, our red line stops at 1, so our temperature is 1. Our second one, our red line stops at -2, so our temperature is -2. On our third one, we have to look at what comes halfway between 3 and 4. And we know from previous works with number lines that between 3 and 4 is 3.5. Now, we have to remember that 3 and 4 are whole numbers and they're positive, so whatever comes between them is that 3.5. When we are dealing with negative numbers, so between 0 and -1 is going to be -0.5, just like between 0 and +1 is a positive 0.5. So don't get this confused and put a -1.5 because it's above the -1. You have to remember looking at this, what comes between 0 and -1. Your other question in your do now or warm up was, what would you count by to fill in the missing numbers on the thermometer below? Explain your reasoning and be specific. Remember, when you're doing this, you have to explain your reasoning. Don't just say I added, I counted. You have to be specific. What did you count by? Why did you count by that? What did you add by? Why did you add by that? Or what did you subtract by for this one? So looking at this, because the numbers ended in 0 and 5 that were already there, I went ahead and said, okay, well, how about I try counting by 5s? So looking at 10, I knew 5 above 10 was 15, and then another 5 was 20, and another 5 is 25. So that works out here. So let's count down from 10. So 10 minus 5 is 5. 5 minus 5 is 0. 0 minus 5 is -5. So that works out there. Let's try one more time. So -5, take 5 more away, you get -10. Take another 5 away, you get -15. And then another 5 will get you to -20. So it works out here. You also had which one doesn't belong. So as you remember from our class, when we do have these which one doesn't belong, you could make an argument for just about any of these on why it doesn't belong. So for this first one, you could make an argument that that does not belong because it says 5/4 divided or 5/4 is less than 2. And it's the only one that has a fraction. Sorry, guys. For the second one, has 8.5 is greater than 0.95. So this is one that has decimals on both sides and 2 decimal places on the right. No other one has decimals on both sides with 2 decimal places on one of those sides. You could also say that 8.5 is less than 7 doesn't belong because it's the only one that's not true. Look at, and it's also the only one that's not true, and it has a decimal place and a whole number with something other than 0 after the decimal. Looking at the last one, this one's true. It says 10 is less than 100. You could say that this doesn't belong because it's the only one with only zeros to the right of the decimal. Is one example that you could use. If you came up with other examples that made sense, you would definitely get credit for that, and we would be reading through all of those. Also, while we're talking about that, please go back the day after you submit and check and see what comments we have put in there. If it's a little puzzle piece, it's like a quiz or a test type questions, go back. You're going to have to click submissions and view your submission so you can see what comments we put on there. For discussion boards, please go back and check and see what comments we put on there, because we may have asked a question that we need an answer to help clear things up for you and for us, because we can't see what you're writing at home on a piece of paper, so we need you to explain your process. Now, for today's lesson, positive and negative numbers on a number line. Here is a number line filled in with positive and negative numbers. You will notice that I started with 0 and counted to the right up to 10. Then I came back to 0 and I counted to the left by 1, by negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. So I counted by 1s all the way to 10 on the negative side. Please make sure when you're numbering your number lines that you number them similar to this way. Do not start with negative 1 down here and do negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, all the way up to negative 10 here, and then a 0. It does not work. That does not make sense. Because remember when we were in class and we did these number lines and we folded them in half, and the negative 1 and the 1 matched up if we folded them right on that 0, and the negative 2 and 2 match up? That's how your number line should work when you're creating it. When you're looking at vertical number lines, you have your 0 and above it. Here I counted by 5, so 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. And then negative 5, negative 10, negative 15, negative 20, and negative 25. As you notice, the larger the number is in the negative part, it's actually smaller. So the further you get from 0 for negative numbers, the smaller the number, so the less it is. So that means that negative 15 is less than negative 10, because it's further from 0 than negative 10. That's the opposite of how positive numbers work. So the further from 0 with positive numbers, the greater it is. So that means 15 is greater than 10. So positive numbers, 15 is greater than 10. Negative numbers, negative 15 is less than negative 10. Here we have a positive or a number line with letters on there instead of numbers. If you were to give a value to these numbers or these letters, most people would probably count by 1. So 1, 2, so C would be positive 2. And you count to the left, negative 1, negative 2, B would be negative 2. And then you keep counting to the left, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5. So A would be negative 5. You're going to have an activity where you're going to have to figure out what value of each of the points on the number line are when they give you one of the values, when you're given one of the values. So if we look at this one, instead of C being 2, we say C is 4. So we are going to be counting by 2s. So 2, 4. And then you go to the left, negative 2, negative 4. So B would be negative 4. And then you keep counting by 2s. So negative 6. Well, sorry guys. Negative 6, negative 8, negative 10. So you would have to answer that A is negative 10 and B is negative 4. What if C was 1? So each of these tick marks on your number line are instead of being 1s or 2s, they're going to be halves. So here you have 1/2 plus another 1/2 is 1. So C is 1. And then we come over here, negative 1/2, negative 1. So B would be negative 1. Negative 1.5, negative 2, negative 2.5. So A would be negative 2.5. And it does not matter how you type these in. If you put decimals or fractions, it's fine either way. Now, your next activities, you're going to be comparing temperatures. So you're going to be looking at positive and negative temperatures and thinking about what's cooler, what's warmer. Make sure on that activity that you read the questions carefully and answer them completely. You're going to have a Desmos activity where you're going to have greater than or less than. So you're going to be figuring out numbers that are greater or less. And you're going to have to explain how you know. Why is that greater and why is it less? And then you're going to have a which is greater discussion. So you're going to be given two numbers and you're going to have to answer two different questions about that in your discussion board post. Make sure you're specific and explain why one is greater than the other. And there'll be another question in there about being further away than the other. So make sure you're answering that as well. Further away from 0. Which one's further from 0? So explain how you know that as well. Comparing points on a line activity. So you're going to be comparing points on a number line. Very similar to that last number line that we had with the letters. You're going to have a cool down. You're going to have an honors activity for the honors students. If you are not an honors student and you want to try it, go for it, try it. It's not going to hurt you. It might help me determine who I'm going to recommend for honors for next year. You're also going to have some practice problems to work on. So make sure you submit all of those. They are all Google Docs, so you can submit them right on Schoology, or you can share them with me or Mrs. Tyler or Mrs. Langen or Mr. Lenhart. If you want to contact us, our office hours. Mine are from 2 to 3:30. Mrs. Tyler is 9 to 11:30. Mrs. Langen is 10 to 11:30. And then Mr. Lenhart has split his up, some in the morning, some in the afternoon. The links are in Schoology for our Zoom meetings. Those are our office hours are through Zoom. You can use this time to ask for help on assignments, how to navigate Schoology to access or submit assignments. You can also use this time if you just want to talk. With the schools being closed for the rest of the year, I know we all miss you guys and we want to see you. So hop onto their Zoom meetings and just say, hey, how's it going? We just kind of want to check in. We miss you. We feel bad that we're not going to be able to see you anymore this school year. We really want to reach out to you and touch base with you. You can also email us, send a message through Schoology to any of the four of us. Good luck, and I hope to see a lot of you guys through Schoology or through Zoom during my office hours. Just like I said, just stop by and say hi. And we can talk if there's nobody in there that's looking for some help on work. So, guys, have a good day and hope everyone's safe. And would love to hear from you guys. Bye.